please remember to leave a like, a comment, share the video about, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Thank you. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Captain's Log, Subdates 231019.2. While we sit within this low IQ pocket, I've got the NPC crew on basic brain training to prevent them from getting any pointless infections. They're doing Sudoku and Where's Wally? As we're too cheap to do more for them. Hello everyone, welcome to the exhibition of stupid people. Today we're going to start with a Conservative MP called Peter Bone, a name that will undoubtedly appear somewhat ironic when we get into what it is he has gotten into a bit of trouble for. Parliament's behaviour watchdog has recommended that the Conservative MP be suspended for 6 weeks for bullying and sexual misconduct. Complaints were made to the body by a former member of staff over alleged behaviour that took place over 10 years ago. The suspension, because of the process, has to be voted on by the House of Commons to be approved. It would trigger a recall vote that could lead to a by-election in Wellingborough. The former member of staff said that he felt a sense of relief and vindication at the watchdog's findings, and that his experience continues to affect my life to this day. Peter Bone denies the allegations, calling them without foundation. During an overseas trip, Peter Bone indecently exposed himself to that former member of staff. The watchdog also upheld 5 allegations of bullying, which included instructing or physically forcing the complainant, John Doe, to put his hands in his lap when Peter Bone was unhappy with him or his work. It also found he verbally belittled, ridiculed, abused and humiliated him, along with repeatedly physically striking and throwing things at him, including hitting him with his hand or an object such as a pencil or a rolled up document. I didn't realise that members of staff or politicians were dogs, or trophy members of staff that you can just show off as being there with your hands on your lap looking all pristine. Additionally, the watchdog upheld an allegation that Peter Bone repeatedly pressurised that member of staff to give him a massage in the office. It found that this was bullying, not sexual misconduct. Now, originally complaints were made in 2017 to the Conservative Party, but they were never resolved. The Conservative Party itself said that the complainant, John Doe, withdrew the complaint, so it stopped. Skipping ahead then to when the complaints were remade in 2021, they were made directly to the IEP, which is the earlier mentioned Parliament's independent expert panel. Peter Bone did appeal these findings. It was all thrown out, because it turns out John Doe kept very thorough records of everything. It gets worse for Peter Bone though, because he was suspended as a Tory MP. He had his whip revoked. He is now essentially an independent, and he will not be allowed to stand for re-election as a Tory candidate. Now, if the MPs do go on to approve the Commissioner for Standards recommendation of a 6-week Commons ban, it would lead to a by-election. This is a Conservative safe seat with a 20,000 vote majority, which is around 35.7% of the entire electoral ballot in that region. Interestingly, he assumed office in 2005. He has held that with a vast majority since then. He is not likely to regain that seat if a by-election happens. Peter Bone has a reputation for being one of the meanest bosses around. Not just because of this, but because, for example, in 1995, he defended paying a 17-year-old trainee at Palm Travel 87 pence an hour, which in 2021 is equivalent to £1.78. So really none of this is a surprise. It is quite funny though that someone whose name is Bone gets done in for showing a former employee his bone. And after a number of years of being in Parliament, it's hilarious to me he finally got the chance to be at the front, and he was yeeted within less than 3 months. Congratulations. I guess while we're in the realm of employment, we can go to Citibank, who recently won an employment tribunal after they sacked a worker who incorrectly claimed expenses. Mr. Facchetti worked at the bank for 7 years as an analyst specialising in financial crime. In 2022, between the 3rd and 5th of July, he travelled to Amsterdam for work. On returning to London, he filed an expense claim for food and drink which he believed was covered by the bank's €100 daily allowance, or £86.70 in real money. The manager he submitted the claims to queried whether he had consumed all the food and refreshments he was seeking reimbursement for. In an email exchange, Mr. Facchetti wrote, "I was on the business trip by myself and I had 2 coffees as they were very small." Further stating, "On that day, I skipped breakfast and only had 1 coffee in the morning. For lunch I had 1 sandwich with a drink and 1 coffee in the restaurant, took another coffee back to the office with me, and had the second sandwich in the afternoon, which also served as my dinner." He told the bank, "All my expenses are within the €100 daily allowance. Could you please outline what your concern is, as I don't think I have to justify my eating habits to this extent." The bank had stated that its query was not about the amount, but if the claim breached its expense management policy, which states that spousal travel and meals are not reimbursable, and that all attendees whose meals are submitted for reimbursement must be listed. This matter got escalated to Security and Investigation Services Department. That also questioned Mr. Facchetti about whether or not he had shared a meal of pasta pesto and bolognese with his partner, to which he replied, "No." He hasn't helped himself out here, by the way, folks, because his partner went with him, and he did eventually concede that he shared meals with his partner. He claimed that he was having personal difficulties following the death of his grandmother. He had taken 6 weeks off for medical leave, and was on strong medication when he replied to the emails. I can fully understand and appreciate how distress and grief can consume us and does lead down a dark path. However, a level in the workforce of professionalism is expected, and it's somewhat amusing, also ironic, much like the first story, that you worked as an analyst specializing in financial crime and you went on to commit one by misusing business expenses to pay for your partner's meals. He was dismissed by Citibank. Mr. Facchetti took this to an employment tribunal, citing unfair dismissal and wrongful dismissal. In the judgment, Judge Ealing found in favour of the bank by saying, "I have found this case is not about the sums of money involved, it is about the filing of the expense claim and the conduct of the claimant thereafter. It is significant that the claimant did not make a full and frank disclosure at the first opportunity, and that he did not answer questions direct," adding, "The claimant was employed in a position of trust in a global institution. I am satisfied that even if the expense claim had been filed under misunderstanding, there was an obligation upon the claimant to own up and rectify the position at the first opportunity." Lol. Enjoy the doll. Last week we spoke about Captain Tom Moore's foundation. It has been facing a number of scandals, the more recent being the fact that his daughter, Hannah Ingram Moore, built a spa originally intended as an office and turned it into a highly luxurious domicile, with a swimming pool, kitchen, bathroom, hell, a full-on spa area as well. Nothing reeks of charity more than ensuring that you get everything and a real charity does nothing. During a hearing into an appeal launched by the fundraiser's daughter, the appeal, by the way, being about whether or not to demolish a building on the grounds of their home, they may have said something. Now, the organisation, the Captain Tom Moore Foundation, was founded in 2020. It has been investigated by the Charity Commission. Barrister Scott Stemp, acting on behalf of the fundraiser's daughter and her husband, said it's not news to anybody that the foundation, it seems, is to be closed down following an investigation by the Commission. He also told the hearing at the headquarters of Central Bedfordshire Council that the foundation was unlikely to exist much longer. I wonder if the mounting legal fees, much of which has come from the foundation to pay for what was originally meant to be an L-shaped building, you turned into a C-shaped building. You did it without any planning permission, meaning you spent an obscene amount of money building something quite swanky that is massively out of place in the region you built it. And the claim was, with the spa, the swimming pool, they could offer one-to-one sessions to offer elderly people in the area rehabilitation, which is apparently what the point of the charity is. Considering how much the money per year Hannah Ingram Moore was claiming as her own baseline salary, with income not being that high in the first place, I'm more inclined to believe you were using it solely so you could have somewhere to go and shut out the world. But the admission that the charity won't exist much longer lends further credence to the idea that this entire idea was a grift from those who could not respect the one who raised the money in the first place. At the appeal, which was overseen by Planning Inspector Diane Fleming, half a dozen neighbours attended the meeting. One of them argued the building is 49% bigger than what was consented, and with it being so close to his property, it looks brutal. Also, others complained it ruined the view, and that they've planted trees to try and block it out. To many, I'm sure this would seem like a non-issue, but with what Sir Captain Tom Moore did, the money he raised, he became a beacon of positivity. When he passed away, everything went to his daughter, and she has since done everything she can to disrespect what he had originally intended, which can only be seen as somebody trying to milk a cow for themselves. She already has his home, and she's trying to change the landscape around that home, which in turn interferes with other people's homes. That is considered by many to be very disrespectful. At present, they are still appealing whether or not they have to demolish the unauthorized spa pool. My view on it is they should demolish it. The building is not what was originally submitted, therefore they broke the law. And therefore, Tartar building. It's an expensive one to lose, but it's entirely your fault. Last week we spoke about how Jada Pinkett Smith had spoken about her marriage to Will Smith and how they've been separated for a number of years. Will Smith has been trending on Twitter for the majority of this week. For a while, Will had not provided a statement in regards to this. Not that he had to, but he has. And I thought what I'd do is play those now.
Fun fact about me. I can take it up almost anywhere.
That video was tweeted out with the comment, "Notifications off, smiley Will Smith." Now later via Instagram, Will Smith did release an official statement, a proper one, where he said the following.
I got something for you. Here's the thing. So, my opinion of the...
Credit where it's due to Mr. Smith, he's taken it as seriously as everyone else takes him and his marriage. A marriage that has been made publicly available by his wife. A marriage where he is made to look like a beta cuck on a semi-regular basis by his wife, and that is only held together, according to her, because she had promised she'd never get divorced. You are just a part of it, you're not actually a member of it. Almost makes you seem like you're a part of the family but consigned to live in the pool house. But a response is a response nonetheless.